Hello sports fans, welcome to Sports Central. Today, we're going to be going over my Week 10 UFL predictions. So last week I had a record of 3-1, and that brings my record on the season to 22-14. Kicking things off this week with the game we have on Friday, and that is the Defenders hosting the Battlehawks. And usually we'll have a live watch party for each game on Friday, however, I'm not going to be doing a stream this week because this game is pretty much meaningless. But this is a tough game to predict because neither team has anything to play for, and both teams will just meet next week in the USFL Conference Championship game. Now, both teams could be resting key starters. In fact, the Defenders have actually announced that quarterback Jordan Tam will not be playing this game, and instead backup quarterback Mike DeLillo will be getting the start at quarterback. For the Battlehawks, they've listed Max Duggan and other key starters as their starter on the depth chart, although I would be very surprised if they play more than the first half. But for the Defenders, Mike DeLillo gets the start, and he was great in the second half of last week's game with over 200 yards. And now we get to see what he can do in his first professional start. And DeLillo leads a Defenders offense that is scoring 24.1 points per game on the season, which is third best in the UFL. And the Defenders offense will match up against a Battlehawks defense that is the best in the league, allowing just 17.2 points per game. Then on the flip side, as I said, the Battlehawks offense has listed Max Duggan as their starting quarterback, although he likely won't play the entire game. And Brandon Silvers is their backup quarterback. Now, we saw Brandon Silvers in the second half of last week's game, and he was pretty good. He's a very good backup quarterback here in the UFL. And the Battlehawks, they're scoring 24.2 points per game, which is second best in the UFL. Now, the Battlehawks offense, they face the Defenders' defense that actually isn't great, as the Defenders are allowing 23.4 points per game, which is second worst. And the Defenders' defense can definitely use a good performance as we head towards the playoffs. But I really have no idea who's going to win this game, especially now that both teams are likely going to be playing some backups for a good chunk of the game. It's pretty much a coin flip here. You can take the Defenders because they're home, but I'm going to take the Battlehawks. I trust Brandon Silvers more than I trust Mike DeLillo, and the Battlehawks, they got the better defense. So let's take the Battlehawks in a close game, 23-19. Moving to the game on Saturday, and that is the Roughnecks at the Panthers. So this is a game that's pretty interesting. For the Panthers, they don't have anything to play for, so they'll be starting third-string quarterback Rocky Lombardi. He's a former Northern Illinois quarterback, and he will be making his first pro start. And I really like this move for the Panthers. They give Rocky Lombardi an opportunity in a game where you have nothing to play for, and you can pretty much see what you have with him. Now, as far as the health of Bryce Perkins goes, he was limited in practice this week for the Panthers, and he is the emergency third-string quarterback. Now, I definitely thought there was a chance the Panthers might play Bryce Perkins for a couple drives in this game, just to make sure he's ready to go and not rusty at all for the playoffs, considering he hasn't played in 3 weeks. But they're not going to do that, and I definitely understand making sure he's fully healthy for the playoff game against the Stallions. And speaking of injuries for the Panthers, running back Matt Colburn actually returns from injury this week. Of their other running back, Toa Taua, who's actually been their lead back for the majority of the season, he is out this week, but luckily for the Panthers, that's just for rest. But Rocky Lombardi gets to start at quarterback for the Panthers, and he'll lead a Panthers offense that is best in the UFL, scoring just shy of 26 points per game. And the Panthers offense, they match up against the Roughnecks defense that is solid, allowing 21 points per game, which ranks 5th. Now, on the flip side, the Roughnecks offense is only scoring 18.8 points per game, although since Jalen McClendon became their starting quarterback, or in their last 5 games, they've been playing pretty well, as in those 5 games, they're putting up 23 points per game. Although the Roughnecks offense now faces a good Panthers defense that's allowing a little under 20 points per game. But this is another tough game to predict, but I'm going to take the Roughnecks to get the win. They're playing pretty well. They just upset the Defenders last week. I think they can carry that over into this week's game, and I just don't know what to expect from the Panthers offense, who are starting quarterback making his first professional start. But I'm going to take the Roughnecks to get the win. I think they'll finish the year on a strong note, winning their last 2 games, and I've got the Roughnecks winning by a score of 20-12. And moving to the games on Sunday, beginning with the Renegades at the Brahmas. So this is another game where neither team has much to play for, as both teams are eliminated from playoff contention. But the Renegades, they're sitting at 4-5, and the Brahmas at 1-8. The Renegades, they're going to be continuing to start Luis Perez at quarterback, and he started every game for them this season. And I like Perez, and he's having a good year, but with the Renegades being eliminated from playoff contention, why not give Holton Ahlers or Luke Lennon a chance to start and see what you have there? But instead, Luis Perez gets to start, and he has been having a good season, as he's second in passing yards and passing touchdowns. I just would have gone a different direction. But Luis Perez, he's actually been playing really well in his last 3 games, averaging 290 passing yards per game, to go along with 6 touchdowns and 1 interception. And during that same 3-game stretch, the Renegades offense is playing extremely well, scoring 28 points per game. and on the season, the Renegades are scoring about 23 points per game. And I think the Renegades offense will have another great game this week as they face a terrible Brahmas defense that is last in the UFL, allowing a brutal 28 points per game. And they just allowed 39 last week. Then on the flip side, the Brahmas offense also isn't good as they're scoring just 14.4 points per game, and they haven't released their depth chart for this week's game yet, but I think Kellen Mond will be getting the start at quarterback for the second straight week. And Kellen Mond, he will look to build on a solid performance last week. Despite not putting up the craziest stats, he still played fairly well. But Kellen Mond and the Brahmas offense will face a Renegades defense that's allowing about 18 points per game. But I'm going to take the Renegades to get the win. The Brahmas, they are at home, but the Renegades, they're just a much better team on both sides of the ball. I think their offense has another big game, and I've got the Renegades winning in dominant fashion and winning by a score of 36-14. And our final game, also on Sunday, we've got the Stallions at the Showboats. So this is actually a pretty interesting game, as when these teams first met back in Week 5, the Showboats upset the Stallions winning 24-20 in overtime. Now the Showboats are at home, and we'll have to see if they can beat the Stallions again. The Showboats, they'll be starting Dresser Win at quarterback, and he was the same guy who was the quarterback back in Week 5 when the Showboats got the win. But Dresser Win and the Showboats offense, they're scoring about 15.4 points per game, which is second worst, and they face the Stallions defense that is second best, as they're allowing just 17.6 points per game. Then on the flip side, the Stallions offense is scoring 22 points per game, while they've been playing really well in their last few games, as over the last 4 games, they're scoring an average of 28.3 points per game. Now, we don't know who the starting quarterback will be for the Stallions or how much of the game they'll play, but I do expect the Stallions offense to continue to play at a pretty high level. In the Stallions offense, they faced a Showboats defense allowing about 22 points per game. But I'm going to take the Stallions to get the win here. They're the better team. I think their defense should dominate, and I've got the Stallions winning fairly easily by a score of 23-9. But those were Week 10 UFL predictions, and thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, turn notifications. I do my best to post as often as possible. Be sure to check out the community tab of my channel, where you guys can vote on who you think win this week's games. But that's all for this video. I do my best to post as often as possible, and I will see you in the next video.